Shot commentary. Here we go. All right, so we're right in here. Our first shot of the day is commercial. Nature guy, kind of like crocodile hunter type person is our talent. We are outside. We're trying to look, natural, but we want commercial. We want that natural kind of look and vibe. We want to feel like this is not fake, but at the same time, we also want this to feel, nice and pretty, and like, people will look at it and think, yeah, that's a nice normal shot of a guy outside um, talking to the camera. Super normal. So for this one, we basically had a couple things. The sun's obviously doing a lot for us here, as the sun is lighting all of this stuff, right? That's really cool. But yeah, we had, I believe, and I don't remember the exact stuff that, because we shot this. This is a old shot, but we had a couple units, some big units off to the side here, that were kind of shooting into some diffusion. Like, I think we had a couple HMI, so we probably had the M18, maybe two M18s. One of them was kind of hitting him as a side backlight, which is outlining this right here. And then we also had a big soft sorts going through, probably a half silent grid, or it would have been half soft frost potentially, just giving us some additional level on this side of his face. Everything else, honestly, is probably pretty natural. I think that those two things is just what we wanted to, basically we're adding to the sun, right? The sun's already there. It's already giving him everything. So you basically expose to where you want your mids and darks to be. And then we took our lights and we pushed that to where we wanted to get like our actual skin exposure at. So yeah, pretty simple shot. I enjoy the, kind of like these lines that are around him that are, feeling like this is a forest or some type of grassy area, whatever. I really do love the hot spots that are on the back of him here, coming from that backlight. And what you would typically do here is, we time this in such a way where the sun is over here. You can tell the sun is over here because the sky is bright, right? If the sun was over here on the other side, the sky would be probably more blue, So we try to time this so the sun was like more over here. So honestly, that backlight is probably coming from, a lot of it could be coming from the sun. Though I think right now it's pretty overcast and cloudy. And the reason why I am guessing that is because I remember on the day we had a lot of clouds that were coming in and out, and it was pissing me off because when the sun was out, we had all these cool splotches, on the ground. We had light pumping through these leaves and it looked really freaking pretty. But then right when we were ready to go, sun goes behind a cloud. What are you going to do? You're on a schedule. We only have 10, 12 hours on a day to shoot. Like, we can't just keep waiting forever. So at a certain point, you just got to go. So we either added this kind of backlight separately, or we're supplementing what the sun is doing for us, or just making it a little bit more intense. But typically you would set your subject 3/4 backlight from the sun, and then you would typically start pushing hard light on the sides, and then I like to push soft light on the front through some big diffusion pieces. And that's basically how we lit this. If there was a bounce, it probably would have come in on like a, on a card or an 8x, get this basically pushing some light back on him this way. If we were to need it, that would be something that we would have ready to go on the fly. And then, yeah, we got some highlights in here. So, if we kind of study our highlights and what we were doing, this is probably our main source of light right here that's hitting him on the front. And yeah, I mean, it's a fun little shot, not too crazy, just kind of standard framework. I'm just always trying to basically, something you'll hear me say a lot is, and I picked this up from cinematographer Shane Hurlbutt, and specifically him, because I remember he has spoken about this. But you basically, an easy way to get depth is to start with hard light from behind, right? And then as you come around the front, you soften that light more and more and more as you come to the front. So anyway, that's this one. Moving on to next shot, we have a spaceman. If for those aren't familiar, this is Isaac from the classic video game Dead Space, and he has this cool mask that everyone loves. And we made a little fan film. This was a couple years ago. I think the editing for it is still being done. I am looking forward to seeing it whenever it's ready. But my team came in and we shot this, and it was pretty fun to do. So for this one, this is like the final scene, and without going into too many spoilers, we have everything's going to shit, right? So this is like the main cabin of the spaceship that he's on, the ISG Ishimura, I think it was called. And yeah, we had this overhead. We had a couple overheads, maybe it was two or three, that was shooting red light into the room. And I remember I had this flickered in such a way where it would be red for the most part, and it would go on and off, and then it would sometimes flash white light as well, which I thought was really cool because it'd be super dark, and then when the white light would come on, it would kind of, you would see everything, but only just for like a couple frames at a time. So I thought that was really cool. So this creates, again, top lighting, some really cool kind of like shadows that are in light that's draping over him, almost like a cloth, right? I really like how that looks, and you're seeing this kind of get picked up on the walls here a little bit, this part over here, but it's very dark, right? That was kind of the idea. Now, there's two other things going on here. There's this blue light right here, and then there's this orange light right here. So this orange light we have, and I forget what the unit was. It's been a while, but there's basically this big ass window, right, at the bridge of this space station, right? So through the left window, I was imagining for a light source, what if we had like this young, or young or old, like this really old, big ass orange sun, right? And so that's what this is. We basically created this blood orange, and we just shot that through, which was kind of like, just to give us some really hard light over the bridge in the reverse shot, so you would have some peppering of patterns going across everything. And then for Isaac, when he comes up at the bridge that's in front of him, you would get that separation, which I thought was cool. In the blue, this blue light that's hitting him here, pretty consistently, that's coming from just a little, it might have been an Aperture C Pro or another small unit of light, of light that's basically just shooting right at him. And that was basically because in the scene later when the VFX is going to come in, or maybe not, I don't remember exactly, but he's basically talking to a screen, right? And that screen was kind of blue, and that light was hitting him. So we wanted to add that practical light there just so we would have it actually hit him. So even if we don't have the screen, the digital screen in VFX scene here, because I was imagining it was being here, they might have changed that. It might be actually on the console now, but the point is we needed blue for the VFX to come in later, and so we wanted to marry that to it. Another thing I liked about this was these cool LED fixtures that we had all over the place that kind of like added to the sci-fi vibe, and then our production design people, adding wires and shit, going through everything just to make this place look a little more lived in. But yeah, it's really interesting. I shot this 3-ish years ago, and yeah, I'm still pretty happy with where it ended up. So moving on, we got a shot from our music video Pause. This was more of a visualizer, I suppose, than a full-on music video. Low budget, but they just wanted some cool visuals, just something that they could have on their YouTube, and it would look nice. It'd be branded, and it would make them look good. So we did this. The director Kalos wanted to kind of evoke the similar feelings from Crash, I believe the movie is called. Really good movie. It's either Crash or Crash My Car, one of those two. I think it's Crash. And if I'm mistaken on that, film gods, please don't strike me down for me not remembering the name exactly. But that had a lot of like, oh no, it's not Crash, it's Fallen Angels. All right, I'm gonna leave that in. It's Fallen Angels. That's what it was. So yeah, so we have like these cool green tones, you know, kind of like through the background, and you know they're centered in this room here. We have like this arch thing going on, right? So we have a frame within the frame, kind of looks like a 4x3 frame, but it's not. It's 16:9. And yeah, how do we light this? So we basically had a light that I really enjoyed using, which was, I believe, the Aperture 80C. It's their new Blair CG chip lights, and we put it on a Fresnel, and we, you know, basically right here behind this wall here, we had it sitting up pretty high. It might have been boomed over potentially, and I think it was kind of just angled like that, and that was hitting them just like this. And we had like set the tungsten, so it just gave this really nice warm look to it that we really quite enjoyed. It was really cool. I was very impressed with those lights. I felt like the color rendering of those things have gotten out of control. So that was really cool. One thing I really loved about this shot as well was when he moved his head in a certain way, we would get some reflections on his glasses here, kind of shooting. And in this particular frame, you don't see it too strongly, but you can kind of see it beaming out like that. And every once in a while, he would move his head, and it would kind of create that interest. And I thought that was cool. Yeah, not much to say about this. Just a little visualizer, you know, simple framing. And yeah, moving on. Next one, we got one of my favorite shots I've ever taken. Really simple. This was basically the first short film that I've done as a serious cinematographer. This was one of the first things that like I wanted to really take a swing at, put everything I had into it. We were up all night and day shooting this thing back when we did this. But you know, there was no budget, so we had to like figure out how to make this thing work. So one of the ideas that the director had was, you know, what if we just make it fucking dark as hell, like just shadows everywhere. Basically, the everything is black. And I got really excited about that. It was like, damn, okay, that's cool. Because when you hear like pockets of light, but what does that even mean? So I was like, what if the first half of the movie is basically completely dark, right? We like don't even go up above. Like if you know if we have a histogram here, you know, and let's just say it's 0 to whatever 256, 100, whatever. I was like, what if we like don't even like go above 50% for the first half of the movie, and then in the second half of the movie, everything is, you know, roughly 50 to 100. So because when the good thing happens in the movie, there's this positive action that happens, everything kind of lightens up. So I was like, I want to really feel that difference in the theater. So when we watch it, your eyes adjust to this dark movie, and then all of a sudden when the lights come on, it's like bang. But the cool thing about the darkness is that we don't have money for production design. So we just don't fucking show anything, you know? So that was basically how we just decided to film this entire movie in a White House with nothing there and no props, no nothing. It was like, how do we make this feel not crappy? So I love this frame because, you know, we're in 4x3, and, you know, I'm not much of a rule of thirds kind of guy. Like I'll frame it however I feel like it looks cool. But, you know, we have her face kind of in the middle of the frame, but there's just all of this empty space up in this area, which, you know, even though there aren't lines drawing your eye, I do feel like your eye gets drawn there because there's just nothing to look at. But it really feels unbalanced, and it's not even, right? And that is what we wanted for this scene and for this movie, was nothing was quite right. So there's some symmetrical stuff in here, but I wanted to find opportunities where we could, you know, break the rules in some sense. So we have like this cool, you know, I can't draw, you know, kind of square thing happening here, and then it kind of bleeds off, which I really like. I like this empty chair that gives us a little more interest rather than if that was just empty. And then, you know, just the look on her freaking face, the performance that she gave, the direction that Arthur was giving at the time, you know, for this, like, was really cool. She just slowly kind of turns her head around and looks, you know, looks straight at the the camera almost right off to the camera as she's seeing something that she shouldn't be seeing, right? Or that she thinks she's seeing. Yeah, in terms of how we lit this, we had, I believe, basically almost this entire movie was lit with a light mat. I forget the exact model of the light mat, but it might have been the 4L or the 4S, whatever it was. But it's basically a 1x2 light mat, and it has like a bajillion LEDs on it. And then you put a couple pieces of diffusion on top of that, so it softens it, and then you can put um, a grid on it, so you can focus the light a little bit more. So we basically just shot that straight down, you know, onto the table. We have this hard cutoff, but it is, kind of soft, but it's pretty hard, and that's basically it. I literally wanted to lean into just like nothing, There might have been some sort of a unit off to the side here, to the right, giving her a little bit here on the side. I wouldn't be surprised if we had something else kind of doing that, but yeah, that was basically what this shot was. And that's the end of this episode.